Hi, everybody. Welcome to My Three Players Games. I am My Three. Today, we continue our amazing player interview series with someone that I consider just like a fucking tier one player, man. Like, you're such a great player. And the two enough people who watch this know have heard me say basically every time that ultimately it kind of doesn't matter how great of a GM or a game designer you are. You're really only ever as good as the players at your table. And to that point, I want to talk to some of the best players that I know to get a better sense of like what works for them, what doesn't work for them. Because every discussion I've had here, I've basically stolen like something to use in my home game. So this is really just like a project for me to get better at my home game. Like that's what this is turning into. And honestly, I'm okay with that. But yeah. So why don't we get started, Nikhil? Well, let's start with telling us a little bit about who you are, if you want people to find you on the internet, where they can do that kind of thing.
Right. So, hi everyone. I'm Nikhil. I'm also known as Ikrik on Twitter, Instagram. That is my handle. So you can find me anywhere on the internet with that. Possibly not on the darker ends, because that's not me. Then, as we are moving across, I do TTRPGs, mainly D&D, and now recently started getting into Fate, thanks to Chirag. So yeah, and if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter, where I usually shitpost about D&D and Assassin's Creed now. So that's a journey. So yeah.
Yeah, no
And
one
speaking
knows
of which,
Assassin's Creed like Nikhil. Like let
yeah,
me like he's being like modest about it, but like yeah.
yeah, I shitpost like crazy. So if you're up for it, enjoy.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Nikhil.
Yeah,
I
says the like. By the way, viewers who are watching, she is a chaos enabler, so she is also an amazing player. So there you go.
I just want everybody to be their full chaos goblin selves. That's what brings me joy at a table is enabling other people's chaos goblin
Oh
natures.
yeah, it really helped. It really helped for the Yantas where I went like full tangent.
It
That was
was so
amazing.
great. I actually before we get started, I want to make a specific note about that game. And I'm not sure if you guys had a similar experience, but it was definitely it was a new experience for me. And it was the first fucking time I wasn't a minority at the table. And
Yeah,
like the I don't know, man, the joy that I got out of that. Like I actually got a little bit weepy after our session zero. I'm like, holy shit, dude, is this what it's supposed to feel like? This feels
it feels like
amazing.
home. It feels
It
like
feels
home,
like
does it?
home. If that's exactly it. I I don't know, man. I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about it now. But like it was the game itself was wonderful, and you as a player were amazing. We'll talk about that some more. But just the table makeup of just other brown people, like just it was the first time I have not been either the only one, at most one of two, at most. And
Right.
even
I think
that I
it's
can like count on two hands the number of times that has happened. But that
but yeah.
was just it was really special. It was something really special.
I feel that's mainly thanks to what Shiraga set up because it was an Indian based settings. So basically this is something that we were raised watching and interacting with throughout our lives.
Yes.
So
Yes.
because I feel that is what is also what made us attached to the game more is because the setting also is sort of reminding of home. So I played around with the stereotypes
Exactly.
what I was there in Chennai when
Yeah.
when I
Which
was doing
I
my bachelor's.
loved, by the way. And like I desperately want to talk about Auto Dhruva at some point because I'm also from Chennai. And so like having you play that kind of character, I was like, oh my god, I love this so much. Because I and like candidly, outside of India, an Indian's an Indian, a brown person's a brown person. But you
Yeah.
know, being from India, the vast difference that exists between people from South India and people from North India, like you might as well be from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
That works.
incredible. Like it's so distinct. So having South Indian representation, like having Indian representation at all for me is like a mind fuck, and I love it so much. But like South Indian representation, like that never happens, man. Like that never happens. So
Yeah.
it was delightful for me to be around that.
But this is good. This is good because the inspiration for that was thanks to Rajnikanth, by the way, who played
Amazing.
plenty of auto driving skills in throughout the Tamil history movies in Tollywood. Everywhere he was like, "Yeah, auto driver, you know it is Rajnikanth out there with the
Yeah,
glasses, his hood." It's
amazing.
like that
Yeah,
is what
that's
I also grew
fantastic.
up with because my dad's
Yeah.
from Nagarkoil. So he speaks in Tamil. He watched throughout that entire thing, like Kamala Hassan,
Oh my god, I love
Rajnikanth,
Kamal
all the
Hassan. Love
classics,
it, love it, love it.
all the classics together, and that is what also what I raised up to be. So I knew what I wanted to be when I wanted to play around that role, but also I want to also hit this stereotype of like what would be the cliche Indian movie that I could hit with. So when I looked through like superhero movies, there was one with Amitabh Bachchan where he had a twin brother, and that's where Auto Dhruva goes
Oh,
in.
yo, what movie was that? I know that movie.
Yeah, it's been like ages ago. So
Oh, I'll look
basically,
it up.
yeah,
Fuck. That
yeah.
that Jesus, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, so basically, it's like amalgamation of all that, trying to hit the perfect notes where I could as a streamer as well, because we do that as well, because we want to make sure the viewers feel attached. So I kept that in mind, as well as what I really want to roleplay. Hence, Rajnikant, and that's
Love
how
it.
to do that.
Love it. Love it. I want us to actually get started. The questions that I have, because we could fucking do this all day, Nico.
Yeah,
And
we
no,
can.
we definitely can do this. And actually, it's so funny because right before we started recording, you literally said we're probably going to derail. And it didn't even take us 20 seconds to go off the rails. So
Yeah,
I value how well you see us. Thank you for that
I'm
clarity.
very good at going like super tangents. So the only thing that keeps me sane is you keeping me in check. So
Yeah,
let's
no,
go with that.
that's probably not gonna happen. So we'll see where this goes. We just finished talking about how I'm like a chaos goblin enabler. So anyway, the first question that I have for you actually is I'd love to know if you have a favorite setting, a favorite world.
Does it have to be TTRPG?
It
Because it
totally
would be,
doesn't. Totally
yeah, then
doesn't.
it's Assassin's Creed down like
Amazing.
alt
That's a
history. Alt
great
history is,
world. That's a
yeah,
great world.
alt history really appeals to me a lot, mainly because this is where you always see the side of the victors, and that's what you always see in the books, right? You see how the victors are being portrayed in books, but you don't see behind the lines of how it is written or like what you can read behind the lines. So this is what Assassin's Creed appealed to me initially, was that the romanticization of assassins was there, but it was mainly like behind the lines of like, hey, they are the bad guys, but have you considered them doing the same goals as that of the Templars at that era, or like how it started with Assassin's Creed 1 and then so forth with every single setting. So that appealed to me a lot.
That is that's really insightful. That makes tons of sense. Have you ever seen The Man in the High Castle?
No, I'm
So
not.
I think it's on Prime. I think it's on Prime. I can't remember. But you should definitely give it a shot to see if you like it, because basically it's all history, and it's World War II, but what if the Japanese and the Nazis had won?
Ooh, it reminds
Uh
me of Youngblood, Wolfenstein. So it's a game. So
I
that is
know,
very
yeah,
much,
yeah.
it's very much on that period.
You
It's a
should
very interesting.
definitely check it out. I think you'd like it, especially now that you mentioned Wolfenstein. Like I think you will enjoy it. So check it out. Tell me how you like it.
Definitely, it's my vibe. It's my vibe because again,
Amazing.
I'm a sucker for history, even though I'm not a historian. It's just that I love exploring a bit.
Yeah.
So that is how it goes. Like, it's just like you're putting yourself there and just opening your eyes to what could be the possibilities. If the history had not happened the way it was, that's like the amazing feeling
That's
that anybody
awesome,
could.
man. I love that vibe. That's a great answer. So the next question that I have, and usually it's an answer that ends up being related to the first one, but given your response, I actually don't know that it will be related. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Do you have a favorite system?
Very hard to say, mainly because I'm pretty new. So for those who have not known me before, it's just that I've been like what 2 years, like 2 to 3 years into TTRPG space. First, I started off with Pathfinder. My very first adventure was in Pathfinder as a player, but then immediately I
Incredible.
was introduced to D&D, and from there, from D&D, it has been like this whole journey. Like my eye, it's like a whole new world, you could say,
Yeah,
like an Aladdin. So it's like my eyes were opened up. So different settings, everything appealed to me. What could be a fantasy at the time?
love
So
it.
D&D held that special place in my heart. But then also Fate also opened my eyes to what could be another way of playing a game. So,
I
but yeah.
get it, man. Fate's like I really struggled with Fate until
Mhm.
our Mecha and Kaiju game, Mecha vs. Kaiju game. Like I've played Fate before and in a longer form campaign even, but like I don't know, man. It just didn't really stick. Like I had a hard time grasping especially the aspects
Mhm.
and like situational aspects. I don't know if it's different with Fate Core and Fate Like I don't know enough about the system to know if those are distinctly different systems. But I remember having like situational aspects the same way we had like overall game aspects. And I can't remember if that was something that just the GM did or was part of the game or what it was, but either way, point is that I struggled with Fate until Chirag ran it for us. And then like everything sort of clicked. Like,
Right.
oh, that's what this game is. All right, cool. Well, holy shit, I actually really like this game, man. And so I'm with you on Fate. I'm totally with
Yeah.
you on Fate.
So it's very hard for me to choose which is my favorite system because D&D
Yeah.
still holds as a special place.
No, fair
Fate
enough,
is
man.
something where I can bring Assassin's Creed to life with TTRPG.
Love that.
So because when we play with the kaiju and the mechas, remember when we have like two things, but it could be us. So I wanted to. That could also be with the same with playing with the Assassin's Creed setting, and it could
That's
be it worked really well.
awesome. That is
So
such a good idea. If you ever run like a fucking face mate Assassin's Creed game, you give me a call, man.
I will, I will, I will. At the same time, Fate right now. Oh, by the way, I'm running a Fate game, but again, this is mainly due to a bet. It is not something that I planned. I lost a bet and I'm DMing, so I'm sort of like doing ninjas and like Mutant Ninja Turtles
Yo,
setting.
that's a pretty good bet to lose, I gotta
Yeah,
say.
and I was happy. I was happy. I lost to Chirag in that bet, so
Oh,
Chirag is
you're
like,
running for that's delightful.
yeah, so I'm running a game for Chirag where he made sure the setting was based off on modern ninjas like in the modern society with who tried to combine together their ninja skills to make the best pizza in town with their different
Amazing.
schools of thought. So
Legit. Love it.
yeah, and imagine using that with Fate is going to be narrative as fuck. So yeah, it's going to be situation aspects, situation challenges, obstacles all over. And that is going to be the fun thing. So their scenario is to ensure. So scenarios is what a session would be. So a scenario for them would be not to be broke by the end of the day. So yeah.
That is great and amazing and delightful. Yeah, I am really already so like into this. I'm very invested in the outcome
Un-
of this pizza
yeah.
shop.
Unfortunately, it is filled up. It's part of the bet,
Oh no,
but
no,
I'm
no!
proud of.
I
But
just
it's
want to hear about it, man.
yes, I'm very proud of it. It's very proud
you
of it.
should be. It sounds like it would be a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
hope it is as fun as it sounds. Although like there's no way it couldn't be. Like you're playing drugs, playing like it's gonna be dope. The flip side to that is, do you have a least favorite game or system you've tried? Something that
Game.
just hasn't
Okay.
really stuck with you. If your answer is that no, not really, like that's legit.
Yeah, it's legit because I totally be like chaotic AF when I'm a player. So basically, it's the DM who'll be bored of me than me be bored of them. I would tend to be a little bit off put if the DM becomes too restrictive on how I set up my plays. If it becomes like something, if I've invested so much and then down the line the DM just like with the snap of his finger destroys everything that I've worked on to do so, like that
Mm,
takes time and investment. That
mm.
is something that would affect me as a player.
Right,
Because it's something that you're trying to
right.
build up, right? Because you want to be the hero of your own story, and
Yeah,
everybody does.
absolutely.
And when
Absolutely.
you do that ever long arguments with the NPCs and everything to build up to that moment, and then with the snap of finger it just collapses, that feels bad. But yeah, it
Yeah.
only happened once, but otherwise it was pretty cool.
No, I'm with you. I kind of learned the hard way about that kind of player agency because I was running a game where w- it was rooted in basically have like characters having to make really difficult moral choices. Like that was the running theme of the game. There were four, it was basically a glorified fetch quest. But like there were four things that the PCs had to do. Each of them involved making a difficult decision. Like, are you going to be sort of philosophically good or are you going to be philosophically bad? Have it be easier for you. And so that was a sort of running theme of the game. One of the decisions involved, so like the decisions were given to them by this kind of really powerful religious body, and the head priest's apprentice or whoever, like who had been helping them up until this point, like there was a choice that had to be made by the players that like, does this young man, does he get to live or die based on a decision they made? And they decided that he gets to live. And like they made the decision that would allow him to live. The next day, in my head, I was like, yo, what a fucking amazing narrative to basically be like, listen, your decision didn't matter because he ended up dying anyway. And so
Right.
that's what I did. The Because in my head that was a good story. That was a good story. But what I didn't realize is that I had destroyed everything the characters had done up until that point.
Yeah.
At that point, in that moment, even though for me it was like, this is like, can you imagine like characters go in, they make this really intense decision, and the next day they find out that their ethics and their morals were for nothing. Like that might be a good story in a book, but I've now made four people feel like really stupid about having gone through that
Right.
emotional turmoil. And
Right.
like, so like I said, learn the hard way. And to basically, and that was my lesson, to put player agency over story every fucking time.
Right.
Every fucking time. Because it's not a book, man. It's a game with like
Right.
four other people. Uh,
Exactly.
so
So yeah.
you were spot on. Like that player agency is just, it's so important because like what might be a good story might end up making your players feel like shit. And
Yeah.
like nobody wants that. That's no
We
fun.
all made that mistake. I remember doing that too, where I was super restrictive on my mechanics with my players, and instead of going RAC like rule of cool, I went as our rule as intended and made sure it was kind of bit within the realm of the world. But
Yeah.
again, it could be mainly because that's how I wanted my game to be, and at the same
Sure.
time, is this that it's a very fine line of like player agencies and how the DM wants those stories to be made because they themselves are players in the world.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so it's very tough. I find it very tough.
So I over communicate. Like I tend to over communicate as a GM for
But
that
yeah,
exact reason.
I recently only started that, but it did have a very good feedback. Again, very new to this TTRPG setting in
Yeah.
DMing is also
Yeah.
very new.
I love
But
that
yeah,
you're learning all these like amazing things, man. Like it's so meaningful. Like I love that. I love that for you. Like
thanks.
that's really
Yeah,
great.
but it's still I'm still a greenleaf, but it's still
Yo,
growing.
same.
Yeah, it's growing
Fucking
like pretty
same. It's only
fast.
been like what, like 3-4 years now. Like it hasn't been that long.
And we
I
need
and
a lot
like
more.
I was kind of like joking with Tana and Kaz on here. Like, yo, I just started this YouTube channel so I could like hang out with people and talk about games. Like I don't, like that's really my end goal. It's just to, like, have a place where I can be like, yeah, no, it's like super official. You should come and hang out and talk to me for like an hour about games.
That's fine. That's fine because I would enjoy that. Everybody would enjoy that.
Amazing,
So it's fine.
amazing. I'm so happy about that. Okay, cool. Do you then like have you played a lot of published modules? Like, do you
I
feel
do. I do.
how do you feel
So
about those? Do you feel like
so
they are restrictive or do they allow you the kind of like world exploration you want?
as a player, I don't notice. Like if the GM is pretty obscure about it, you wouldn't notice it.
No,
But
no.
like for example, Curse of Strahd is a one very very good example. They're very detailed on each page. Like a room could itself have like 8 pages long. That's how Curse of Strahd is made. Like the module is so intensive on how it is detailed and set up. Barovia is a very detailed world, which I love as a DM to go and explore and tell that. When I played as a player, I absolutely loved it too because it is a published adventure where you, even if you are very new to the setting or if you're well versed with the setting, the way how the GMs can like divert and intrigue you into that dark gritty nature of Barovia is different for each GM. That is what it's appealing. So one such example is recently the Radiant Citadel, which does go in that particular aspect because you can have different story paths from multiple GMs based on the same module. Um,
Yes.
Wish I could
Yes.
have that for all. So another one that I absolutely love is Critical Role. Their adventures are always like their paths are multiple. It's not like a single railroaded adventure.
Yeah.
You have multiple endings even at the very beginning of it. If you get it, you get it. If not, there is something else instead. Maybe you get it some other way. So this is how you give paths to DMs, but also as a player to get the same information. It may be the same information, but it's just that the way to get it is fun. So that
That's
is what I
awesome.
feel about published adventures.
That's
But
very
that's where
cool.
also for me, where I mentioned before, Strixhaven was kind of a bit restrictive on that because they sort of did not have, they were railroading in a way. And at the same time, they just abruptly stopped midway for me
Mm,
in terms of it and didn't have much of a explorative aspect, much
sure.
for the players to explore as they want.
That makes sense. So to that point then, given that you value the ability to explore and sort of be social in your games, like that's important to you clearly. But like, do you have a typical kind of character you tend to play to help enable that for you?
I
Or
tend
do
to
you feel like
be,
you can do that like with any character?
I can use right now in my list only sorcerers, wizards, and the general spellcasters. I have not touched at all. Like I
Mm,
have played almost every other character under the sun: artificers, paladins, rogues, rangers, druids. Druids are my favorite. Bards another favorite. It's just like
love
the
bards.
versatility of the classes are amazing. like you can be a support paladin if you want, or you can be a tanky paladin. It's just amazing how you can divert your character to support the group. And this, I don't prefer lone wolf approaches, so I tend to be very much into the support classes
Sure.
of playing the things. If I
I
be a
love it.
sorcerer, I would definitely be like a support sorcerer of kind, where I don't fireball. Maybe I would have some good damage spells, but that would be my focus. My focus would be something else. But unless if the character I'm building up tends to that, otherwise I'll be like the full chaos everywhere. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So there's no like there's no through line of like a personality type or anything at this point. Like you're kind of open to playing whatever, and you just kind of, that's really cool. That's really cool because like the way that like a super impulsive character approaches, so social interactions, exploration, like that's going to be super different from someone who is more meticulous and academic. That's really cool, man. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Like you don't
Recent
have to play one kind of character to enable a certain kind of behavior in role play.
Recently, one of my favorite characters was in a Radiant Citadel. Unfortunately, the GM had to stop midway, so I can now talk about it. So, one of my favorite characters was from there. Her name is Sonpari, for obvious reasons,
Amazing, love it.
and she is a Stars Druid. Yeah, that I have combined the
Yes,
best of all things.
love it.
So she is this amazing character who is like the mom of the group. She would take care, just like how Sonpuri would, just be there as a support character. She's not the main. You can tell her she can be a main character, but at the same time, her main perspective is not to be the star, but push other into the spotlight, or in cover them into the spotlight so that they can do better. So most of my spells, my support things have been just like boosting them throughout. It was like guidance, healing spells, good berries, whatever a druid could do as a support class. I have
Amazing.
been pushing it forward.
Amazing. I'm gonna be playing a druid in a game coming up, and like I don't get a chance to play a lot of D&D. I play a lot of other games, which is perfect for me, honestly. But the occasional D&D game I play, like I've been, this is my first time trying to get a druid at this level, at fifth level. So I'm pretty psyched. I'm pretty psyched.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just a
very
one shot,
versatile.
but it's gonna be fun, I think.
Yeah, they're
Um,
very versatile as a class. You're gonna
yeah.
love it.
Amazing. I'm playing a Circle of Stars druid. I'm playing a Stars
Yes.
druid. I mean, because
Yeah,
because
stars
I
druids
wanna I
are
wanna be a
so good.
constellation. Like that's my thing. I want to turn into a constellation. Like that. That's why.
Oh, the way how
That's
you can
why.
describe that is going to be amazing.
I'm so
So, like,
excited about it. I'm so psyched about turning into a constellation. Like I don't care about the rest of it. That's the thing that I want.
that's fun. So
It's
that's what
super
I look
fun.
for. I tend to play characters that are out of my depth usually. So something that I cannot approach to do so, like being mom of a group. Definitely, I cannot be a mom. With a cat, probably, but not with
Sure.
like
Sure. No,
other
I'm with you.
members.
I'm not a nurturing person. Like that
Yeah.
is very much out of my wheelhouse as well.
So yeah, that
Amazing.
the way how you could role play into different characters is something I appealed a lot because a bit again. So from the bit of the backstory is that I did theater when I was in high school. So that is also a motivating factor to try new characters, something that I've never done before, and push that into the limit. Like find something that is outside my comfort zone is something that I usually focus for because it's not like I constantly want to be there. I'm a freaking introvert. I would rather be in my bed, huddled around and watch something. But when I'm acting out or being someone else, that gives me the perspective of that person, that fantasy of being that person, that extrovert, or that
Amazing.
motherly figure, or being a soldier. Physically, I cannot be a soldier, but that feeling of being that personality is really appealing, which is
That's
why I
awesome. I
love doing
love
that.
that. I love that. So I was going to ask how you would classify your playstyle, but I think you just answered most of
Yeah.
that question. Which is awesome. And I love that you take time to sort of embody the character that you're in. So what that says to me is that you tend to prefer sort of mid to long term play so that you can really kind of sink into that character exploration over
Exactly.
one shots. Is that a fair estimation?
I can also pretend to be in a one shot, but the thing is, I also want to keep seeds of who I am in the world also.
Yeah.
So I cannot do that within the one shot. Like, for example, in the Blaze of Yanta, me handing you over the book, if you remember, in the very first part of the adventure, was
Yes.
a plot hook that I knew it would come back if Chirag would call on to it. So
Amazing.
I kept it over there.
There was just so
Uh,
much going on, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that like we had to drop. I think we got through like so much of the game. Like there was so much game to play. It was
Yeah.
great.
So the coffee, the dosas, everything was like in mind to ensure that I keep hooks every now and then so that me as a player can come back to it anytime I want to pull back to it. So it's
That's
just like a
awesome.
sort of like a flow chart of how I would because in the end you are that character. When you're going to be the character, what would your character do? Is something that I would constantly think. It's not like something that me as a player would want to do. Is me, what would Dhruva do at that particular point? So, whatever the character I'm impersonating as, that's what would always run in my head. The DM would be like, "Hey, so what are you gonna do?" The answer's already in my head because that's why the
Mm,
player was already there, why they wanted to be there in the first place. So that is
love
already
it.
there, embodied in when I'm making the character backstories, or even the tiniest seeds is enough for me to cultivate that into a motive for the player.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. To that point then, um, apart from so it I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the question that I want to ask is what is what elements at a game or at a table sort of help it stick out to you and sort of make you obsessed with it between game to game? And part of the answer to me, based on what you just said, is the ability to explore your character choices.
Yeah.
But I'd love for you to expand on that. And if there's anything else, like I definitely want to hear about
I
that.
can give a system. What I usually do is I usually set up a flow chart of mentally, or if you can do it by drawing, you can do that as well. Is like, what would your character do? What would be their repeated set of spells? Like, for example, even if you have the long range of spell lists in D&D or whatever guidebook you're following, your character would have a preferred playstyle. Find your character's preferred playstyle within that flowchart and try to use it often. Build off of that. Like, for example, you can be a druid who's a necromancer, but what if you go pyromancy in between? There is no motive. There's no motive for you to go in a pyromancy or hydromancy or anything of a different style because it doesn't make sense. So you need to have a motive behind it. So finding the core motive as part of your play style and cultivating that slowly into your gameplay, your way of playing, and making that as your strength rather than as a weakness is a good way to do so. So flowchart is very important in that manner.
I
And by the
love
way,
that.
for that, the tip belongs to in Dimension 20. I forgot the player's name. So Abriya Iyengar was one who was responsible for setting up the flowchart system with among the players, where they would essentially would cut down the amount of time they would use in combat. Because, say for example, you are in a tough situation, you want AOE spells, which is your preferred spell, so that would be suited on. I use that system in a similar way, but it's mentally mapped for me. So I would be like, hey, this is the person I'm embodying as. So this is my mental map of how the character would be. And then I would just explore from there, keep seeds, grow wherever I need to, and then keep on maintaining that as the character.
I don't even fucking know where we are on this list.
So we're going off tangent. That's pretty
Yeah, no,
good.
we are. Well, actually, we've been really good. We've been like really, really solid. Can you tell me about something that a GM has done for you as a player that really sticks out in your memory?
There are two instances that instantly come to my head. The very first session that not the very first game was a Pathfinder game, and in that I had a session where basically I was trying to get drunk to drown my sorrows. So the DM asked me to make a Constitution save, but I got a nat 20 on the first roll. So I was like, okay, fine. That means I don't get drunk. But my objective is to get drunk even more. So I tried again. DM is like, okay, since you're trying it again, disadvantage for your Constitution saving throw. This time, what happened was I got two nat 20s on a disadvantage.
What the
Yeah.
hell?
So there were three nat 20s in a row.
Get the hell out of
Everybody's
here, man. That's
everybody's watching. They
awesome.
were like, what the shit is this dice wrong? Because the very immediate roll that I was like, I just wanted to test this roll out. Next one was a nat one. So I was like, phew, okay, the test roll was a nat one. But the DM was like, since you have, it was an impossible odd situation where this could happen. And since it was an impossible odd, my character got the trait of being forever sober, which was a custom trait that I got.
That is
So I could never
hilarious.
get drunk.
That's hilarious. I love that.
And with that, I have made as part of the backstory was that I made friends with the hog riders in the group who were like the ruffians of the
Amazing.
group, and
Amazing.
became friends with the bars and everyone around. Even though like the very first thing that I did in the very first session was I got drunk and I had a disadvantage throughout, and now I'm not anymore. So that felt really really cool. Second instance is Blades of the Yanta with Chirag, where I told Chirag, give you my backstory, go wild with it, and he did. So yeah, that's pretty
He
much how.
really did. Like he did so well with like everybody's, man. It was so good. It was so I love that your brother just like showed up. Like that was, oh my god. I've said this before, I'll say it again. That game had no business being as emotional as it ended up being. Like a fucking mecha versus kaiju, man. Like who thinks you're gonna sit there and just like bawl for 2 episodes straight? Like, come
Oh
on.
boy, the whole
But yeah,
like there was a lot of things that was running behind that character. Like there was so much process going with it. Not only like Rajnikanth, but there were like more influences as well. Like Voltron is a series that I really really loved, and so yeah. And I talked to Chirag about it. Like this is what how I'm approaching with, and he is like, yeah, let's like I told like, hey, this could fuck up the players, and I just left it there. And he was like, yeah,
yeah,
he used it immediately like to fuck up the
amazing.
players.
Amazing.
So yeah,
But see, this is the kind of like collaborative above the table discussion that I'm talking about. Like, this is it makes the game so much better to acknowledge that it's a game.
yeah.
Like it just it I don't know. I'm this is my latest fucking soapbox. Anyway, so that's what this is. But
But yeah,
I have a yeah, I have a I swear we're almost done.
yeah,
Um
but yeah, this is what I feel with GMs. Like if you like the best tool that the GM can use is the players themselves
yeah.
and use them as a driving point throughout.
Oh,
I've
love
done that
it.
many
That's
times. Like
very insightful.
if the player dies, I would use their body to cause a lot of harm for the team as a trauma point, but as a motivation point as well, and that motivates them like really well. So yeah, using backstories is pretty good. So yeah, and
Love
I'm
it.
all in for it.
Love
I'm
it.
all in for the trauma, the adventure. I don't get hurt by it. Like when I cry on scene, I do that as part of the character because I'm used to being like doing a little bit of theater. You get used to like doing acting a bit, but yes, you do get like it takes a while to get like de-stressed out from
Yeah.
that moment because you're being yourself also over there. You're putting a
Yeah.
mental stress onto it.
There's definitely
Uh,
some amount of vulnerability and like
yeah,
bleed that happens for sure. For sure. Like when and you cannot be that vulnerable as a character and have it not impact you like emotionally. And so it's great that you have the tools to manage that because that
right.
is really like it's so important, right? Because it allows you to have that depth, but also kind of take care of yourself after you've done that.
Exactly.
So and the rest of your table. So that's really awesome. I love that. I
A
love that, and I love
misconception,
that we talk about that.
yeah, a misconception with many of the players that what I face is that without the voice, they cannot embody their characters. I would say that's false because I
I
have a
agree.
shittier voice. Like my voice is not like
Yeah,
appealing to
I don't do voices either, man.
but when I'm DMing, I do voices every now and then, but that's different. But when I'm when I'm as a player, voice is something that is secondary. It's not something in primary on the primary focus. Personality is what you need to focus on. So if you're going to try to so those players out there who find it difficult to embody the character, just go with the personality. The voice comes naturally along with it.
Love it. That's great advice. Thank you for that. The So we're almost done. I kind of figured we'd touch on some stuff organically, which we have done, which is great. But the last question I have for you is: is there anything you would like your future GMs to know?
Future GMs to know. Oh my God! All the best in being and letting me be a player. You can use me as a tool to destroy your characters. I don't mind. As long as I'm having fun and you're having fun, I'm all good. It's just love exploring characters, going out of the depths, trying something new, even if
Love
it's
it.
just like accent changes. I'm used to it because I've been exploring outside, so I take that as an observation rather than something as I need to nail it aspect of it. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's a great answer. I hope anyone who is your future GM will watch that
Yeah.
and know.
Hopefully.
Certainly, I hope to be a future GM for you, so I will keep that in
Oh,
mind.
yes, thank you.
It's gonna be good. Actually, I'm kind of obsessed with running a Shadow of the Demon Lord game for some people, so I
Oof.
will definitely get that going. But
Bring me as a BBG to destroy them. I'll be happy to do that.
it's okay. The Shadow Demon Lord doesn't need to be. It's like a terribly, horribly bleak setting that has like an overarching big bad. So yeah. So it's exactly up like Tan's Avenue, basically, is what I'm saying.
I'll
But
be your
anyway,
evil guy or the evil
yeah.
minion as much as
Yes,
I
please.
can. Be the
That'd
tiny
be
goblin comes. Yeah, I'm gonna kill you. So I'm good at that.
awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I that's all I have, man. I kind of can't believe we like didn't derail more. Like we're so good at this. Like we're really good at this.
I'm trying so hard not to derail
Oh
here.
my
Okay,
god, you're
I'm doing my
amazing at it.
best.
You kept me like so on track. Like it was amazing. Like you were so directed. I love it. Thank you for keeping me on track.
No
Because I
issues.
could have very easily not. Uh, but anyway, thank you everybody
Oh, yeah,
for
by the way, I need
watching.
to do this to my mentor before we leave because this is yeah, I have to do this for him. You know who you are. You know where you can find me. And this is for you, buddy. This is for my mentor, and those who have watched the previous videos would definitely know who am I talking about. So yeah,
That's yeah. For anyone who doesn't, it's Kaz the DM.
he's
Who's
like the he's
he's
like a
just the
good
best.
person.
He's the best, man. I had a chance to speak with him as well, and I will link that in the description box for you to check out. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Nikhil, for being here. This was
Thank you.
delightful.
It's my honor to be honest. It's amazing to be your co-player and being part of this show. So
This was
yeah.
so much fun. This was so much fun.
Uh,
This is great. Yeah, thank you to the 2.5 people watching, and yeah, come back in a couple of weeks when we'll have another endlessly fascinating player to talk to. But until then, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.